Welcome, everyone, to another edition of Stepping Up to the Plate. I'm your host, Michael Vega. So glad to be joined on the dais here by my main man, Al Prizzuti. We've got a lot to discuss here with the playoffs in full bore and both the B's and the C's, the Bruins and Celtics, fully engaged with the Celtics on the brink of clinching their series against the Cleveland Cavaliers, having won 2 straight in Cleveland. And now the Bruins showing a sign of life, walking it back from the brink of elimination with a big win in Game 5, 2-1 down in Florida. And that was just an unbelievable victory for the Bruins, coming on the heels of just a disturbingly disappointing setback at home on Mother's Day. And Al and I are here to debate it and to discuss what may be for the Bruins and the Celtics, and a look ahead at maybe some of the potential matchups if they advance. But unbelievable. Al, I tell you, man, I love the NHL playoffs, first of all. Let me just get that straight. I love the NHL playoffs because of all, the intensity, the emotion of it. And it stirred it in me on Sunday when the Bruins had to go up against the Florida Panthers at home without Brad Marchand, who got sucker punched by Sam Bennett. I'll say it again. He got sucker punched by Sam Bennett, who went, unpunished, didn't even get a penalty. And let me tell you, I was listening to part of the game on the way home from New Hampshire, where we went up to visit with my daughter before her graduation this week. So congratulations to Natalia on that. And we were listening to the game, and let me tell you, Al, Bob Beers went off on the official. He never does that, but Al, he went off big time.
Yeah, but you know what? I've seen the play 10 times.
Did you? Did you slow it down on
all
slow-mo?
of the guys, look at, it was almost impossible to see because of where the referee was. Because if you noticed, Bennett had come this way and punched. I mean, first of all.
So you acknowledge it was a punch?
Well, yeah, I mean, only after seeing it 8 to 10 times. I mean, if you watch the game last night, they talked about this, and all 3 of them.
Ad
I
nauseam,
mean, you had Messier and Bissonnette and whatever talking about it. And they all said, first of all, it was almost impossible to see, but on close-up, so you can't blame the referees for not seeing that.
Well, okay.
What you can blame, or what you can put on, is that you've got a guy in Bennett who's got a history of being a dirty player.
Right.
Dirty meaning not like everybody says Marchand's a pest
yeah.
and he's dirty and all that stuff. He's not. And neither is Tkachuk. The one thing about Tkachuk is you know what you're going to get.
He's an agitator.
He's a hard hitter.
Yeah.
And he's kind of like a Marchand, bigger,
agitator.
stronger, and all that stuff. But Bennett has had a history of this stuff. So what happened behind where the referee couldn't see, I don't have a problem with it, other than he did it.
All right, here's who I have a problem with. It's the people in Toronto who had the chance to go over this, to look it over, and to make a determination.
No, that wasn't a Toronto call.
No, but
the goal,
I think when you have a player go down in a heat like Marchand,
no.
And then he's got to leave the ice.
No, they stopped the game 100 times and stuff like that.
Yeah.
The bigger problem was the goal that Bennett scored.
Correct.
When he pushed Charlie
Vicious
Coyle.
cross-check.
It wasn't a vicious cross.
Vicious cross-check.
But he pushed him into Swayman, where Swayman then couldn't make the save.
Correct.
And he scored. So there were 2 things there. One is they should have disallowed the goal. 2, they should have given Bennett a cross-check penalty.
Vicious.
And then they scored a goal. The Bruins then challenged it, and then they got another 2-minute penalty on top of that. So it was a double whammy against the Bruins and something like that. It went up to Toronto. I don't know of anybody, I haven't heard from anybody that said that they got it right.
No,
they got it wrong.
And the thing that set people really off was the explanation from Toronto.
Yeah, well,
that said that Swayman had every opportunity to make a play on the puck.
Well, did they make up for it last night?
Remember I texted you last night. I texted Al, makeup call.
Well, they had to do it.
Yes.
Because if you look at that very carefully, he was outside the net on the second one, and it was his own player that knocked the club out of the goalie stick out of his hand. But if you look at Danton Heinen's foot, went right into him. So
right.
That's
well, but he's coming out of the crease.
No, he wasn't at that point. He was in the crease.
Yeah.
And at that point, if they really wanted to do it, and I know what they're going to say in Toronto, they said it wasn't a goal, so you have to have overriding evidence that says this and that. The fact that the stick was knocked out of the guy's hand
outside of the crease
by his own player was the reason why they did. They could have easily said no goal.
Well, here's the thing too, though. You look at the ice level replay of that, and you can clearly see that Bobrovsky had a line of sight on the puck.
Little, with no.
Well, but he was playing it.
It was.
He could have stopped that.
Let me put it this way.
He could have put a stop on it. Yes.
And they didn't want to say this against the Bruins because of what they did the night before.
Yes.
This has always been a problem with the NHL referees.
Oh my God.
They always. If
Jim Montgomery would have gone apoplectic behind the bench. He probably would have come over the bench after those guys.
I'll tell you one thing. Paul Maurice is a great coach. You see what he did to that team when they were.
Oh, he lit them up. Yeah.
We don't know what he said, but what he said
he was pointing to the board at the shot differential because the Bruins had more shots on goal than they did.
Time. Yeah, they ended up with more shots on net
than
the Bruins.
They really poured it on at the
did.
end. Yeah.
But you know what? I was having dinner with a friend of mine. And he said, I'm not watching them. They're not going to win. They shouldn't win, blah, blah, blah. And I said, you know what? I think it all depends. If they win that game, you never know what happens if they come back to Boston. The only problem I have is they stink in Boston. They've had 2 playoffs now where they went out 3 straight. Yeah. They lost 3 to Florida last year. They lost 2 to Toronto. Could have lost 3 to Toronto at home.
Right.
And if they play like they played last night, I'll tell you.
Well, you know what though? I think the Bruins are going to probably get energized by the fact that they'll have the crowd just absolutely behind them.
Doesn't matter what it's execution. It's execution.
Well,
the Bruins have not been able to execute.
It is.
Except for last night. Now, who had to win last night? The Bruins.
The Bruins, no doubt.
So
and they came with
Florida looks and says they've got to beat us 3 times. They're not good enough. And if I was Paul Maurice or if I was Kachuk or anybody on that team, I'd say, you know what? If they win the game, don't get hurt because we got 2 more games. One in Boston where we've had good luck, and then back home against the Bruins down here.
Yeah.
The Bruins had to win that game.
They did.
And you know what? They played for the first time in this play. They should have lost to Toronto. Toronto was a better team.
Yeah.
Well, let me put it this way. Swayman is the best goalie. I'll tell you, Bobrovsky's a great goalie.
He's a great goalie.
But of the 2,
but he hasn't faced the same amount of puck pressure that Swayman has, especially in that third period. Where
Swayman makes the biggest saves in crucial time. Although Bobrovsky last night, 2 or 3 times the Bruins broke in.
Oh my God, and they had chances.
All alone.
They had chances. Pasternak right there could have tucked it right between
the other thing is you got, I think it was DeBrusk who came in and gave it to Trent Frederick. I'm not sure. It was
Trent Frederick was a rebound.
Zacha.
It was a rebound.
Yeah, but Zacha was the one who shot it or gave it to Trent, and Frederick the shooter has got to shoot.
It was a breakaway by DeBrusk, and he had Frederick trailing. And so he put it, and there was a big rebound right in front.
I don't have a problem with DeBrusk shooting.
And Frederick put it right back on him.
He's a better shooter. When I saw Frederick, of course, the puck was jumping a little.
It was.
But, the first one should have been DeBrusk is the one that could have scored the goal there.
Yeah.
Because he had a guy that, Bobrovsky's had to look at, see, this guy over here, he's shooting. If I go too far this way and the pass comes out, the rebound comes this way, it's over. So, but they played 2 things they did last night they hadn't done in the Toronto series or this series or last year in the playoffs. One, they were physical. I give them credit. They're not as big and as strong as Florida, but they were physical, including McAvoy. But what did they do better last night than they haven't done? They got out of the zone for crying out loud.
Yes.
They won in the first 2 periods. I think they won 8 out of 10 faceoffs. Then they turned it around and lost them.
Here's what they did better out too.
And they shot on net.
They played behind them more. They played in their zone more.
Yeah, but they got to shoot. You know, the other night the crowd was yelling, "Shoot, shoot, shoot!" And you can't score if you don't shoot.
Right.
And they've got guys. And look at Brandon Carlo. Has a wrist shot, not a slap shot, but a wrist shot from the point. Yeah. That if the goalie doesn't make the save, there's a rebound.
Right.
And they've got guys that can jump in front of the net. They've got better dirty goal scorers than they have snipers. Yeah. Only one sniper on that team.
Yeah.
And that's Pasta.
Yeah. And
Florida's got 4.
Yeah.
They got Reinhardt, they got Kachuk, they got Bennett, and they got Verhaeghe.
Yeah.
4.
What about Barkov?
Well, Barkov too, but I mean, but they're deep.
Yeah, we haven't heard much from Carter Verhaeghe in this series. That's the thing I'm worried about. Is like, I don't want him to get hot. You know, I think they're doing a pretty good job on him. But
I think the Bees, because Florida's going to come out smoking.
Yeah,
because they
got to withstand the storm at the very beginning.
First period.
Yeah.
The Bruins have not played well from behind. Well, they haven't played well from
ahead.
I mean, let me put it
they were
this
up 2-0 on Sunday, and when they got to 2-0, I loved how Patty Maroon went in front and challenged anyone on that bench.
You know what? That was stupid. That to me
loved it,
is
I loved it.
Well, you know they laughed at him,
calling him out.
No,
you're drawing him out.
Yeah, but that was stupid. And Montgomery better be careful, because had they lost that game last night, his tenure could have been at risk. Well, the fact that they won that game, and they'll come back if they do win that game, and it goes to 7 and they lose, I think he's still okay.
Right.
But too many men on the ice 3 times?
Again, yeah. And you could see just the chagrin.
And he said, well, maybe what I have to do is grab somebody's jersey. But that guy was out on the ice. Whoever the guy was replacing him went right out.
Lindholm went right over and played the puck right away. So that was a tough thing. But
you can watch a good game. I mean, I've watched all of the games that I try to watch.
They've been tremendous.
All great games. Playoffs in the NHL is better than any other sport there is. And I watch the basketball. I've been watching the Celtics. You know what? Playing the Cavaliers, you almost have to feel sorry for the Cavaliers.
Right now.
The Celtics would have to just say, you know what, we're going to lose on purpose in order for the Cavs to win. And then they don't have their top player.
Right. And it was still a tractor pull.
It's a joke.
But no, it was a unbelievable.
What was the final on Vancouver? Did they beat
Vancouver won out. Yeah, that's the other thing I was going to say. Vancouver was down with like 38 seconds. They tied it, and then they went ahead.
Yeah, I went to bed and they were down.
No, not Vancouver. Edmonton won.
Oh, did they?
Yeah, I'm correct. I stand corrected. Edmonton, the Oilers won. With all the firepower they have on that
I think
team,
Vancouver's a better team, but Vancouver better be careful. That was in Edmonton.
Yeah.
Put it that way.
Yeah.
I mean, I still think the Bruins should go after Draisaitl. And why do I say that is they got so much firepower. Yeah. They need a goalie. They played this second-string goalie last night, Edmonton.
Wow.
So if that's telling you that they're not happy with their goalie, and the Bruins don't think that Ullman is the guy, you give him Ullman, you give him DeBrusque because he's from Edmonton. You give him Grzelcyk, and you give him Fabian Lysell. Give them those 4 and take Draisaitl. Now you got Draisaitl and Pasternak that are snipers.
Yeah.
Bennett, incidentally, is a free agent. Reinhardt's a free agent.
Oh, do you think they would ever have him here?
Nah, he wouldn't come here. It's 47. He had 57 goals. He's got 5 goals. He scored 62 goals this year.
Oh, it would be like cats and dogs living together, Al.
Imagine having Pat Maroon and Bennett on the same team with Marchand. You got 3 maniacs.
My God. That would be.
Marchand, incidentally, showed up in between periods and before the game.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that he's an inspiration. I mean, I think that was a big plus. But
I'm looking forward to Marchand getting back on the ice, Game 6. You know, he's going to be endeavoring.
It depends if he's effective. If he's not effective,
it's true. But
he could hurt him.
His presence is so huge, but I like how the team responded. And
I'll tell you what they could do. They could grandstand this.
How so?
If he's 85% or 90%, right?
Yeah.
And they play the first period, and they don't play him. They say, "Look, he's not ready," and they go down, and they go 0-0 at the 1, or down 1, or up 1, close game. Second period, have him come out of the dressing room and sit on the bench, and the fans will go
Nuts.
Crazy.
Yes.
And that would spark the team.
Yeah.
And
Do you send him over the boards for a shift?
Celtics did the same thing. They'd have a guy like Larry Bird go in and look like he couldn't play because his back was sore.
Willis
10
Reed.
minutes, Willis Reed.
Yeah.
I mean, if you want to, the Bruins have to do something different to beat Florida, because I think, and I'm a Bruins fan, diehard, but I think the Panthers are a better team. Now, the Rangers went to bed the other night against the Hurricanes. Now, that's a 3-2 tonight. The Hurricanes are playing.
And
if they win, you got a 7th. Anybody can win in the 7th game.
Yes.
Because you can't make a mistake.
And you still have the possibility, if everything works out, where you would have a Knicks Celtics Eastern Conference Finals in the NBA, and a Rangers Bruins Eastern Conference semifinal.
Well, that would be a semifinal.
Not the semifinal, no, it'd be the final.
In the East. They can't play for the Stanley Cup.
No. I'm talking about the NBA would be the Eastern Conference Final.
NBA.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you have a semifinal in the NHL.
Yeah.
Yes. But
because somebody from the West would have. And my guess is it's going to be, well, you never know with Edmonton because they can score.
Dallas Stars.
And the Dallas is playing pretty well, but I don't think I just don't think they have the goaltending to win it. Vancouver's got everything, and I like Tocchet. He's a pretty good coach. And on the other side, I'd say the Rangers could beat both Florida and the Bruins.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, no doubt.
Well, I don't know about that because when you haven't done it for as long as the Rangers, I know Messier's pulling for him because he was both an Edmonton and a Ranger fan.
When they won it, yeah.
Wouldn't it be interesting if the Rangers played Edmonton? What Messier would think?
Oh my word, that would be torn.
I mean, he's basically an Edmonton Oiler, but he finished his career with the Rangers.
Yeah, and he raised the cup there too, didn't he?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
No, but it'll be interesting to see if that scenario plays out. But right now, we turn our attention to the Celtics, who are on the verge. Will be coming back to Boston to play the Cavaliers in a clinching Game 5 out. They have a chance here.
Yeah, well. The interesting thing, again, I hate to say it, but this is all, my mind is always just on sports. We were talking last night, a group of us, and we're talking about the Celtics. And if you think about this, okay, and I know you're not going to like this.
No.
If Marcus Smart was on that team right now and not
Drew
Holiday,
yeah,
you're talking a different dynamic. This kid is not only a great defender, but he's a great offensive player, and he's got humility. Yeah. The Celtics have a couple of guys that I'm not sure have any humility. One is Jason Tatum, who'll shoot no matter what, and Brown, who I call a roller coaster. He's the Nantasket roller coaster. He's up here one game, down here the other. But if you think about it,
Derek White and Drew Holiday.
Derek White and Holiday
are killer backcourt together. They really are.
But they're also the two best defensive players in the game.
Al, as much as it pains me to say this, I agree with you on that. Because you know how much I love Marcus Smart.
You know
He's
what?
my dog. He was my
I
dog.
looked at Marcus Smart and said he hustled all the time.
Yes.
He was a better than decent defensive player and a less than decent offensive player.
But you have two guys in Derek White and Drew Holiday that not only can guard their position, have shown they can guard anybody on the floor. And they can make plays.
I'd say White
they're capable of making plays, facilitating offense,
underrated.
And then getting their own shots.
But I still say White is the most underrated of the five.
Doubt.
Because he hits big shots.
Yeah.
He's always in the right place. He plays great defense and he plays great offense. But think about this. You got Peyton Pritchard.
Yeah. Sam Hauser.
I'd take him on. Hauser would be starting on any team.
Lou Cornett.
They're 7 or 8 deep, this team.
Yeah.
So, look at they're playing without Porzingis.
Hey, and you haven't even said anything about Al.
Well,
Al Horford.
I like Al Horford for what he's doing.
Yeah.
He's not a 35-minute guy. He's a 22-minute guy. He goes he can rebound.
If this series goes any longer, it's going to take a pound of flesh out of him.
Well,
and they're going to have to rely on Cornette more to kind of like relieve him. But that makes it all the more imperative for them to get Porzingis back.
You do what Arbeck does. You know, you look at the score, you look at the time, and say, okay, with 5 minutes left to play in the first half, and you put Horford in there.
Yeah.
Okay? And then you do the same thing toward the end to give guys a rest, okay? Let him try to draw fouls against the guys that are covering him. Yeah. I mean, that's what Red Auerbach used to do. He put guys in there, and they were told, drive.
Yeah.
Now that guy's going to foul you, and then when you put your other guy in there, the guy's like, oh, my God.
Yeah.
So I don't think the Celtics are going to have a problem. Well, they're not going to have a problem with Cleveland. I mean, if they lose that, oof. I mean, I won't watch any more basketball.
Did you see who Cleveland had on their sideline was there to the game?
Yeah.
LeBron.
Yeah.
It was
well,
funny.
They gave him a standing O.
He did. I was talking to my neighbor, Vince Urbanski. He's from Ohio, and through Ohio State guy and everything. Floated this great theory about how he might be there, and he's the only guy who would have the power of the NBA to maybe get back to Cleveland with his son Bronny, who's been having an unbelievable
Is that the one that had the
NBA
heart
combine.
problem?
Yeah, yeah. But he's coming out. So I think LeBron would love to play with his son, right? And where else would they love to do it than Cleveland?
Yeah.
And what a great storyline that would be, you know, father and son playing together, bringing another title to Cleveland.
It's amazing, though, how legend allows people to forget what happened. He was here, he left. They wanted to kill him when he left.
Now
they'll take him when he comes back. The same thing with everybody. You know, look at Ray Bork.
Well,
Ray Bork says, I want to win a Stanley Cup, and he wants to go out to the Colorado, and the fans go, yeah, because they love him. He was a legend, okay? But Bobby Orr playing 10 games for the Chicago Blackhawks.
Same thing with Tom Brady.
Yeah, but Orr playing 10 games for the Chicago Blackhawks was a stain to me.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, no doubt.
And
what about
Eagleson's
Tom Brady
problem.
winning a Super Bowl with the Buccaneers?
Because that's a separate situation. You've got two things going on there, Belichick and Kraft. And you don't know who's pulling what strings there.
Yeah.
You know?
Unbelievable.
But anyways, you know, and then the Red Sox. I hate to say it, but they gave that kid, I know he won the game for them last night, but in the 11th inning, he throws the ball away to first base and allows Tampa to score
Rafaela? Sedane Rafaela.
He's not ready. And then, of course, he wins the game for him. And, Hosanna in the highest. But not $50 million or whatever they gave him. And Devers is not worth the money either.
Yeah, start engraving the plaque at Cooperstown, right?
Yeah, right. Well, and then the other guy, what's his name, O'Neill. He's got 10 home runs. Now the true O'Neill is coming out. See, he started with six home runs in 6 straight games at the start of the season, whatever it was. And now he's striking out. His average has dropped, as is Jared Duran, who was hitting 385, is now hitting 255.
They're all coming back to the field. All coming back.
Hitters have an advantage over pitchers, or pitchers have an advantage over hitters at the start of the season.
Yeah.
You know, watching, and this I did my whole life, watching Ted Williams, consistency, because to hit 344 lifetime over 20 years is nuts.
Yeah.
When you see what these go, but the consistency of it, where you just go, if he went 0 for 4, people would go, is that Ted?
Yeah.
Is there something wrong with it?
Yeah.
0 for 4, these guys go 0 for 4, 10 games in a row.
Yeah. And they go through these bad streaks.
And I look at Devers and I'd say, you know what? He's a good ball player. He's a good hitter. He's got a weird stance.
Yeah.
The length of term is way over what it should have been, 10 years or whatever it is. I think he's going to be a little overweight in about 5 years.
Pablo Sandoval?
So which gives us 6 years of, maybe he wasn't as good, and this is going to be the new legacy.
And right now they don't have a legit DH, and last night
They had
Connor Wong.
Connor Wong, who can hit, so can McGuire, incidentally. I'll tell you one thing about McGuire as a contact
But Connor
hitter.
Wong's not going to inspire any kind of fear on the other side.
Yeah, but what he can do at Fenway Park,
Yeah.
okay, is he can hit home runs because he
Yeah.
hits the ball pretty good.
He could.
The other guy, McGuire, is a contact hitter, and
Yeah.
he's a lefty.
Yeah.
So I think that's a pretty good tandem for the Red Sox to have. I think Wong's a little better defensively,
Yeah.
and I think he's better for the long ball. But the Red Sox, they're not going anywhere.
No.
They're going to end up 81 and 81, or maybe not even 500.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Unbelievable. Well,
But it breaks my heart to watch it because when I'm sitting there watching him throw the ball away. I mean, pretty easy. But it's interesting because who was it? Who's doing the color with O'Brien?
It's an amalgam.
No, last night
Will
was
Middlebrooks.
last night was
Euclid.
Euclid.
Yeah.
Euclid said, watch him when he grabs the ball because he came running in. He said he doesn't have a good grip on it because he did pause and he went like this and then he threw it 3 feet wide of first base.
Yeah. Unbelievable. Unbelievable.
But they came back and won it, and I give them credit. I didn't think they would even be as good as they've been, but their pitching has been better.
Now, Al, we didn't have a chance to discuss this, but did you watch the Kentucky Derby?
I did.
Unbelievable. I've never seen it. And now this horse, Mystic Dan, will be running the Preakness.
What's interesting about the three of them, the Triple Crown?
Yeah.
They're all different distances.
Yeah.
So you have a horse that can pace on the Derby and come from behind because it's shorter.
Right.
But then when you get down to the Belmont and the Preakness, I mean,
yeah.
you're talking different distances, different abilities. Jockeys can do certain things.
Move around.
And then position is very important.
Totally.
I like horse racing. I've always liked watching. I like the Derby because it's a spectacle.
Oh, it is, and it's a spectacle like no other, unless you're at the Indianapolis 500, Al.
No.
Which
you can do that.
I love that. I love
You
that.
can
I love
do
the
that.
Indianapolis 500.
Now
Al,
I've been watching tennis.
I mean, I can sing you Back Home Again in Indiana right now, if you want.
But I've been watching the tennis now. It was taking place. It's in Rome.
Hey.
But I'm telling you, the stadium. Everybody talks about the French Open, which is a major, and the Italian Open is not. But the stadium that they play in with the statues around it is very picturesque and very beautiful.
Yeah.
But Djokovic lost again.
Yes, and not only that,
Not even a ranked player.
Medvedev got knocked out too.
Yeah, but Medvedev is an interesting guy. I watched him the other just quickly. He said, "I'm not as good as Skinner, Djokovic," and he named them all top 3 players.
And they're all.
But he's a player.
Yeah.
He's a tough guy to play because he just gets the ball back. Kind of like Djokovic in a way. They're tremendous from the baseline.
So my prediction is going to be an unseeded qualifier.
I'd love to see what's his name win the American.
Tommy Paul.
He beat
might do that.
Medvedev.
You might do that. All righty. Well, that'll do it for us here. And we want to thank you for spending your time with us. We look forward to seeing you next time here on Stepping Up to the Plate. All right, everybody. Take care.
So next week, I think what we should do is talk about